What's happening in tech? We said that the NASDAQ's down more than 5% this week. We're having the worst week in about 18 months, and the tech sector itself is off more than 7 on the week. What's going on with that trade?
Tech, I think, revealed its hand last week because Nvidia had a good number, but it fell. So when stocks fall on good news, you know it's either a crowded trade or something bad could be coming. And then, of course, they've led the downside this week. I think it is part of this pull forward the seasonality because people want to de-risk, and tech is a big holding. But I think on the margin, there could also be a political aspect to this. You know, Trump's probability of winning actually increased this week in the betting markets and in the polls. And I know investors think he'll be tough on China, which would be bad for semis. So I think part of this could be fears that a Trump gaining is bad for semis.
What if there's just too much priced into these stocks at this point? Valuations have gotten a little too rich, even if they're the greatest stocks in the world, which you've made the argument that, in fact, they are, that this is the place you want to be, maybe more than any other. And what if that's true and the multiples still don't make sense?
I think it's possible. In NVIDIA's last 10 years of history, there have been 30% drawdowns, almost 8 times of similar magnitude. Its PE, NVIDIA's forward PE, was actually higher at the bottom of those drawdowns. You know, right now, NVIDIA's forward PE is in the mid-20s. So to me, this looks like a normal profit taking. Maybe it takes NVIDIA down to the 90s, but I think 2 years from now, that's really going to be a gift. So when you look at all of these, are you a buyer on the dip? Are you urging people who read your research and listen to you here and elsewhere to do that? We're close to that point because let's say we thought that there would be a 7 to 10%, the risk of a 7 to 10% drawdown between now and November. We're almost down 5% now. I think next week we could be within that point of where we pulled forward that entire correction into the month of September. So I think we're close to the point where, I wouldn't be a seller here, and I think the lower range of the S&P's 5,400, 5,350, we're almost there now.
Nvidia, the tech juggernaut, whose journey began 30 years ago with a vision that seemed more like science fiction than business strategy, is making headlines again. This time, it's not just about 3D graphics or innovative GPUs, but a jaw-dropping revelation in the world of AI and computing. In an electrifying piece of news, Nvidia's CEO Jensen Huang recently shared stunning insights about the future, pointing to a potential trillion-dollar overhaul in global computing systems. This revelation not only highlights Nvidia's pivotal role, but also showcases its partnership with technology titans like Microsoft. As the tech industry braces for a massive technological transformation, Nvidia seems to be in the driver's seat, steering the course for the future. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
Nvidia will look for some potential all-time highs. B of A does go to 190
there
today.
keeps being these sellers at 140, and they just won't relent. And they ought to go rethink their whole game plan. They should go read the conference call of Taiwan Semi, and they would know that it's foolish to sell. Druckenmiller with a cry in the beer about wishes that he hadn't sold it. I don't get the sell call here.
Yeah.
Because this is, remember, one of the things that was mentioned by Dr. Wei on the Taiwan Semi was he's saying it's incredibly early. And yet people are selling NVIDIA. It's incredibly early. And I remember talking to Jensen. We're like 3 trillion, 4 trillion. He's not thinking about that. What he's thinking about is creating robots that are going to deliver you inexpensive coffee from maybe even Starbucks with Brian Nichol there.
And we mentioned the Melius chart today, looking at OpenAI's new product, where Ben Reitz says that as inference moves to video and reason, it's going to prompt infrastructure upgrades pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and I was going back and forth with Ben. He's pure joy. It reminds me that it's very, very bullish for NVIDIA and also, he says, for Lisa, for AMD. And I totally agree with Ben. Ben's got a beat on a lot of things. And the companies really respect Ben's work, just so you know. And I'm not just partial to Ben because I like his father, who's a great chemical editor. I'm partial because he's must-read. And he's distinguished himself in the group by having the most cogent recommendations, and he's quick. It reminds me of Cathie when she was doing her Apple work, and that's like about as high praise as I can get, because Cathie was a deity, and now she does the charts. She's a deity, and Ben, I think, wants deity status. Got to work. Got to work hard to be deity.
When Jensen Huang, Nvidia's dynamic CEO, took center stage at the BG2 podcast, he painted a picture so vivid and ambitious that it had Wall Street pundits scrambling for their calculators. According to Huang, the world is on the brink of a $1 trillion upgrade of outdated computing systems and data centers. And guess what? We have barely scratched the surface with $150 billion worth of upgrades underway. Imagine that. It's like realizing your phone's memory is stuck in 2001 and deciding to upgrade it to the latest model available, just on a billion-dollar scale. Now, why is Nvidia positioned to capitalize on this wave? Let's rewind a bit. Founded with the humble ambition of elevating the gaming world through cutting-edge 3D graphics, Nvidia has since morphed into the beating heart of AI and accelerated computing. Their GPUs, which once propelled video games to cinematic experiences, are now the lifeblood of AI advancements. They're the processors that power hefty AI applications, such as OpenAI's ChatGPT, and create explosive revenue landscapes in data centers. Nvidia's update includes a whopping 87% of its revenue from AI-related projects this past quarter. But Nvidia isn't just sitting on its laurels. It thrives on reinvention. The company is a fabless designer, working with partners to manufacture groundbreaking processors that redefine what was once thought impossible. Its accelerated computing technology is a game-changer, employing parallel processing to turbocharge data centers into veritable supercomputers, timely for facilitating AI's burgeoning demands. In other words, it moves more bits and bytes than a chipmunk on a caffeine high. But before we go any further, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates. Back to the video.
Speaking of expectations, which are not really low, and that's Nvidia, the price target today gets raised to 190. At B of A, it was 165. Generational opportunity is how they call it, because of the competitive lead that they have now. They talk about recent industry events. They talk about the underappreciated enterprise partnerships and software offerings, and the ability to generate $200 billion in free cash flow over the next couple of years. You want to address this? It's been a reasonably volatile week.
Yeah.
ASML hurt. Taiwan Semi helped. Pick your story on whatever side of the ledger you want to be on as it relates to that. But they are now neck and neck. Apple and Nvidia are in terms of what their overall market caps are. Apple's still the biggest, but Nvidia is right on its heels. As of the close yesterday, we're looking at 3.36 for Nvidia, 3.53 for Apple. Those are skewed a little bit to the upside on both accounts today. There's 3.60 trillion for Apple, 3.38 trillion for Nvidia, but it's getting there, and people think it's going to because of the generational opportunity that some suggest they still have.
Yeah, and I thought it was super interesting, like the ASML report, which was concerning. You saw a lot of the semis pulling back as a result, and then you see Taiwan Semi, their print, which was a blowout print, and then all the numbers start to push right back. I think about one of the things that Steph said earlier, when you think about just all the beltways that lead back to NVIDIA. If I think about the power grid as an example in data centers, all the build and all the raids we're talking about with data centers and how much we need to build, where we need to find land for these places, all that goes into chips, right? The chips are what fuel the data centers, and beltways all the way back to NVIDIA. So when I think about free cash flow going forward and all the opportunities and all the catalysts, it's hard to fight this stock. It's hard to fight and say, wait, you know what? It's gone up too much. 180% is too much, or whatever. It's still a great opportunity.
People have tried to fight Apple. They've lost, right? They've been put on the canvas.
Let's sprinkle in some humor. What's the stock market's equivalent of an AI chatbot jittery on espresso? It's a stock, Nvidia's to be precise. Its stock has skyrocketed an astounding 2,700% over the past 5 years. That's not a typo. And while the market can be rife with volatility, Nvidia's expert navigation has been consistently yielding solid returns thanks to its continual innovation and growing integration in AI. Speaking of innovation, Nvidia's influence extends beyond AI. Its GPUs are increasingly vital in autonomous vehicles. With Microsoft and other tech heavyweights heavily investing in AI infrastructures following Nvidia's pioneering lead, the demand for Nvidia's chips is soaring. Microsoft itself has invested billions into OpenAI, highlighting Nvidia's importance as their technology supplier. This trickle-down tech economy effect puts Nvidia at the core of an irrefutable tech revolution. For investors, Nvidia looks like a golden ticket to ride the AI wave, not just because it promises potential, but because it's firmly rooted in consistency and profitability. The company flaunted earnings of $30 billion and produced $14.5 billion in cash from operations in its fiscal second quarter of 2025. Such financial health gives Nvidia the leverage to continue reinvesting in its technologies while returning capital to its shareholders through dividends and share repurchases. Is it any surprise that stakeholders are intrigued by future possibilities as Nvidia continues to redefine accelerated computing? Those navigating the stock landscape are likely aware. Investing in Nvidia is like boarding an express train to the future, one driven by proven research and innovation while offering resilience against digital disruption. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
We start with Nvidia. Why not? Which is trading higher on a bullish call. B of A Securities raising its price target on the tech giant to $190 from $165, reiterating its buy rating. The firm calling Nvidia a, quote, generational opportunity with a huge competitive advantage in a growing market. The stock already up nearly 180% just this year. And that's after last year where it's something like tripled. Now, here's the analyst behind that call, Vivek Arya. Vivek, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I guess the question in reply to the idea, I have no question that NVIDIA is going to be a great company for a long time to come. But it has already had that generational moment, it would seem to me. So how do you see it moving multiples higher from here, generationally, I suppose?
Tyler, let me actually tell you a story first.
Sure.
You know, the first commercial internet service started in the US in 1989. Amazon started in 94, Google in 98, and Meta in 2004. The point here is that, you know, you don't just have 1 or 2 year technology cycles when you are investing in these real big changes to the technological infrastructure. And we think generative AI is one of those really big technological changes that is going to take time to play out. It is true that it is insanely computationally intensive. You need a very strong linkage between the silicon, the system, the software, the developers. They all need to come together. But this is not something that will just start and end in 1 or 2 years. And specific to NVIDIA, in the last 2 weeks, we had the chance to meet with, we had the chance to interact with and listen to a number of companies in the supply chain to their competitors. And what is coming out very loud and clear is that the opportunity is much larger, their competitive position is much stronger. And then finally, when I look at the stock, right, we have a stock that is trading less than 1 times earnings growth. And if you were to take an average of the other so-called Max 7, they are trading at 1.9 times their average earnings growth for next year. That is why we think that we are in front of a large opportunity. The company is executing well, and the valuation is very compelling, even at these levels.
Here's the million, or rather billion-dollar question. Should you invest in Nvidia? Given the tremendous upside, including massive potential tied to upgrading the world's computing systems, Nvidia is primed for explosive growth. It's more than a speculative bet. It's a calculated investment in a leader with a proven track record and dynamic growth prospects. Currently positioned at 47 times forward earnings, Nvidia might seem overpriced to some. Yet, when you consider its pioneering role in AI and accelerated computing and its strategic partnerships with industry giants, the stock showcases incomparable value. Nvidia continues to shine brightly in the tech constellation, not just standing as a market leader, but as a compelling prospective opportunity for savvy investors who grasp its game-changing role. Are you ready to climb aboard this futuristic train that boasts not just momentum, but steadfast progression? We'd love to hear your thoughts on where you see Nvidia heading. Do you believe technological prowess will propel it to greater heights, or do you foresee potential roadblocks on the horizon? And finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.